Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, if you've even glanced at booking a trip to Maui lately, finding a rental car, well, it's been a wild ride price-wise. So today, we're strapping in. We're going to try and decode that chaos. Columbus Day seems to have flipped the switch. And yeah, Maui car rental prices are turbulent, very volatile as we head into high season. You've pulled together the data for us. We've got the weekly tracking, the longer 52-week view, year-over-year stuff, forecasts, even the airport versus off-airport economics. Our mission, really, is to cut through all that, figure out what this new normal actually looks like, and hopefully give you a clear strategy for booking your car.
And that new normal, it's definitely expensive right now. Looking at the latest snapshot, October 20th, 2025, yeah, we're firmly in high season pricing territory. These are rates like you'd see at Christmas or, peak summer. And that volatility you mentioned is just, wow, last week was all over the place. Take Jeeps, they jumped 13%, hitting $804 a week from budget. Yeah. But then convertibles, right after a huge spike, they just plummeted. A massive 61% drop in 1 week, down to $743 from Payless.
Call that 61%.
Yeah.
In 1 week. That's the kind of thing that makes you just want to hit refresh constantly, hoping you catch the bottom.
Absolutely. But, keep it in perspective. $743 is still a lot for a convertible. And if you're hunting for the absolute rock bottom cheapest car, that's an economy, $377 a week via Thrifty. But even that is 10% higher than it was the week before. So yeah, prices are steep, even the ones that look like they're falling.
Okay, right. So let's get a baseline. How premium are these prices? We need to compare them to the 52-week median, right? For listeners maybe not deep in the data weeds, why is that median number so important here?
Yeah, the 52-week median is kind of like the market's resting pulse rate. It smooths out all those crazy peaks and deep valleys over a whole year. So it gives you a much better sense of what a vehicle typically costs. When we see current prices way above that median, it's a clear signal. Ding, 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 high season's kicking in.
And what's that signal saying now? What's the premium range?
Right now, most car types are running somewhere between 20% and 50% over their 52-week median. So standard SUVs, for instance, they're going for $690. That's a huge 51% premium over their median, which is $457. The market's just, running way hotter than usual.
50% hotter.
Yeah.
Wow. And it gets even more extreme for the really big vehicles, doesn't it? What's the biggest outlier right now?
Oh, that's got to be the 7-seat SUVs. I mean, they're always a bit volatile, but the current price, $1,115 a week, that's an 81% premium over the median of $616.
81%.
Yeah. It screams scarcity. If you need that much space, the market's hitting you hard.
So the message is clear. If you need that big SUV, book way, way early or just prepare to pay almost double the average yearly rate. Ouch. But there's this interesting little twist, an exception that kind of shows why just looking at the median isn't always enough. You called it the minivan paradox. And they're apparently listed at a 3% discount compared to their median. So should people just jump on that?
Yeah.
A discount's a discount, right?
Well, you'd think so. But it's a bit of a trap, and it really shows why you need context with these numbers. The reason it looks like a discount now is because that 52-week median price was artificially jacked way up by a pretty bad minivan shortage back in the summer.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it lasted for weeks. There was a big safety recall affecting a lot of the common minivan models that rental companies use. Fleets were tight. So while today's price, $656, is technically lower than that inflated median, if you compared it to what prices were before that shortage, it would still feel pretty high.
Okay, that makes sense. So the median got skewed high, making today look low. Got it. Speaking of skewed numbers and shortages,
yeah.
How does all this current chaos compare to this exact same time last year? Are things settling down post-pandemic, post-Lahaina fires, or is it still messy?
The year-over-year picture is definitely mixed. It looks like a multi-tiered market. There's some relief maybe at the entry level. Economy cars, mid-size cars, both are actually down about 4% compared to last October.
Okay, a little bit cheaper there.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But then you look at the utility vehicles, the specialty stuff.
Where?
It's exploding. Jeeps are 34% more expensive than last year. Standard SUVs, up 25%.
25, 34%. Okay. And now I'm really curious about those minivans. If they're supposedly cheaper than their skewed median, how do they stack up against last year's actual price?
Yeah, drastically higher. Minivans are running 80% more expensive than they were 1 year ago.
80%.
And those 7-seat SUVs we just talked about, the ones with the 81% premium over median, compared to last October, they are up a staggering 93%.
93%. Wow. So if you rented that big SUV last year for say $600,
Mm,
now you're looking at over $1,100 for the same week.
exactly. That's a massive shock to the travel budget. It really confirms that long hangover effect from those summer shortages and recalls we mentioned. It's lingering.
Although, interestingly, convertibles seem to be bucking that trend again. They're down 19% compared to last year.
Yeah, it seems like the market is really punishing the need for practical space like minivans and big SUVs, while maybe easing up just a bit on the fun, open-air cruising.
And quickly, just to place Maui in the bigger Hawaiian picture, where does OGG stand right now for cheapest rentals?
So for the cheapest car available starting this week, Kahului Airport, OGG, is actually the second cheapest major airport in Hawaii. It's $247 a week. Maui held the absolute cheapest spot for something like 22 of the last 28 weeks, so it's still competitive. But you look over at Kona, KOA, on the Big Island. Their lowest price spiked 79% in the same period. Huge jump there.
Okay, so high season premium, check. Extreme volatility, double check. Let's look forward now. What's the forecast hinting at for, say, the rest of October and into November? More pain.
The crystal ball, the forecast systems are predicting what looks like a classic roller coaster pattern. Prices are expected to maybe dip slightly from where they are right now through late October, early November, but then shoot right back up just before Thanksgiving.
Roller coaster. That sounds stressful. And that really doesn't match the historical pattern, does it? How different is this from, say, pre-pandemic times?
Oh, it's night and day. If you look back at our tracking data, say 2013 to 2018, prices back then usually rose pretty steadily in early October,
Yeah.
and then they'd just hold that high, flat level right through November and most of December before the big Christmas spike. Pretty predictable.
Right.
This forecast now, it suggests all this post-COVID, post-Lahaina volatility, these unpredictable spikes and drops might just be the new normal for fall travel planning in Maui.
Okay, if volatility is the new normal, that flips the script on booking strategy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, should people still try to snag a last-minute deal? Historically, sometimes waiting paid off.
It often did, yeah, until about 2 weeks ago, actually. For a good chunk of this year, booking last minute, like the week before, often got you a cheaper price than booking 5 weeks out. Waiting was rewarded.
But not anymore.
But not anymore, at least not right now in high season. This is the second week straight where we've seen the opposite. The last-minute price for a car starting tomorrow, October 20th, was significantly higher than if you booked it a few weeks ago. Looking at the airport price for OGG, it just kept climbing steadily over the last 3 weeks leading up to that pickup date. If you waited this time, you definitely paid a premium. Procrastination got punished.
That is a really crucial, actionable takeaway for anyone listening. During these peak times, that last-minute gamble, it looks like it's dead, at least for now. Booking ahead seems key.
Absolutely. That reversal is typical high season behavior, but given this new volatile environment we're seeing, I wouldn't assume it's just a short-lived thing. If your dates are anywhere near a holiday or, a school break, booking ahead is probably the safer bet.
Okay, booking strategy, book early in high season. Now, logistics. Let's talk location. The location paradox. Conventional wisdom, right, always says off-airport rentals are cheaper, lower taxes, no airport convenience fees. Is that actually true in Maui?
Well, we crunched the numbers, looking at the 52-week median prices again, and that assumption. That off-airport is always cheaper. It just doesn't consistently hold up in Maui. It really, really varies by the type of car you want.
Okay, so where does it hold true? Where can you save by going off-airport?
You can definitely find good savings off-airport for the, let's call them volume categories, economy cars.
Yeah.
You save about 21% off-airport based on the median. Regular SUVs, about 19% savings. And minivans, remember those? Despite the skewed median, the off-airport median is a huge 30% cheaper than the airport median. So for those, yes, look off-airport.
It makes sense. Cheaper land, lower taxes, pass the savings on for the common car types. But here's where it gets weird, right? For some of the more desirable or specialty vehicles, the airport, OGG itself, is actually cheaper on average over the long run. That seems backwards.
It does seem backwards. Jeeps, for example, cost 14% more off airport based on the 52-week median. Convertibles, 13% more off airport.
14% more away from the airport.
Yeah. And get this, those super premium 7-seat SUVs, they cost a massive 39% more off airport over the course of the year.
39%. Okay, what is going on there? Why would a rental location without all the hefty airport fees charge so much more for specific popular cars? Is it just gouging?
It's less about gouging and more about, well, supply and demand getting totally warped for those specific vehicles. What we figured out looking deeper is pretty simple. For Jeeps, for convertibles, and for those big 7-seat SUVs, very often there's just no off-airport availability at all. They don't stock many or any.
Oh, okay. Scarcity again.
Exactly. So on the rare occasions when they do have one available off-airport, the price is set astronomically high because they know someone really wants it and can't find it elsewhere easily. That handful of super high prices then dramatically inflates the 52-week median price for off-airport rentals of those types.
I see. So the average looks high because the few times they're available, they're incredibly expensive.
Precisely. Which means, counterintuitively, for those high-demand, often low-inventory vehicles like Jeeps and 7-seaters, the airport often becomes the only reliable place to find one, and potentially, averaged out, the cheaper option too.
Okay, this has been super insightful. Let's try and boil this down to an action plan for you, the listener, trying to navigate this. First, we've confirmed high season pricing is definitely here.
Yep, and it's marked by some really extreme volatility, especially year over year for large vehicles, nearly doubling the price in some cases.
So strategy number one seems to be book early, especially during high season. That old trick of waiting for a last-minute deal, probably not going to work right now. Might even cost you more.
Right. And strategy number two, think carefully about where you pick up based on the type of vehicle you need. Don't just assume off-airport is cheaper for everything.
Yeah. If you want an economy car, a midsize, maybe even a minivan, definitely check off-airport. You could find significant savings, like that 30% on minivans.
But if you absolutely need that Jeep or that big 7-seat SUV or maybe even a convertible, the airport, OGG, might actually be your better bet over the long haul, both for finding one available and potentially for the overall price when you average it out.
Okay. And stepping back, we've really established that the old predictable pricing pattern, that stable rise from 2013, 2018 you mentioned,
Yeah.
that seems gone, replaced by this chaotic roller coaster volatility.
It really seems that way, which leads to a sort of final provocative thought, maybe, a strategic question for how we all plan travel now. If this intense volatility, these unpredictable swings, are now the permanent default setting for Maui car rentals, does that mean smart travelers need to start, hedging their bets?
Hedging, what do you mean?
Well, maybe you should consider booking, say, 2 different refundable reservations way in advance. Like, book both a midsize car and a minivan 5 or 6 weeks out. Then you watch the prices, and maybe a week or a few days before your trip, you cancel whichever one ended up being significantly more expensive, locking in the better deal you reserved months ago.
Interesting. Like playing the market a bit yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Is that level of strategic, maybe slightly complicated booking the new reality for ensuring value in this era of unpredictability? It's definitely something we'll keep tracking in future deep dives.